Hello, ladies. The fact that you're here today watching this virtual event tells me that making smart choices about money is important to you, and I couldn't agree more. So welcome to each and every one of you. I'm looking at the roster here, and we have quite a few. I mean, this is jam-packed. I see Susan and Judy, Ellen. I even see a couple of fellas signed up for this. Women's Retirement Roadmap. I guess that's okay, but you know, hey, we've never been really good at following directions, have we? But that's for a whole nother webinar series. Well, hey, I'm James Haight. I'm the founder of Victory Wealth Services, and I want to just dive right into this great information. My goal is that you take away at least a couple of things that can help put you in an overall better position when it comes to your retirement. So let's get started, shall we? So let me just pull up here and boom, there we go. So today we're going to be discussing what I call the 4 C's. Now, what are the 4 C's? Well, it's clarity, control, confidence, and comfort. When it comes to the world today, I mean, without a doubt, it is an absolutely crazy world out there. And I think for the most part, a lot of people out there, they don't have these 4 things, do they? Maybe one or more of these are something that you wish you had more of in your life, and that's why you're here today. Because if we don't have clarity, we can't really have control over things. And if we don't have control, we don't have confidence. And if we don't have confidence, well, we certainly can't have comfort. And who doesn't want comfort? So let's talk about who this workshop is for. So if you're at or near retirement, this is for you. If you're financially conservative and you don't like losing money, I don't know about you, but I would physically assault a vending machine if it ate my quarter. I mean, I don't like losing money whatsoever. If you want a simple plan, keep things simple, easy to understand when it comes to your money, your retirement money, your 401k, your IRA, your TSP, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever it is. If you want more confidence in this regard, this is for you. But last but not least, if you want to stay retired with dignity, that's right, with dignity, without needing to move in with your kids or have to return to work, this presentation is definitely for you. But perhaps you're attending right now because maybe it's been your husband or a partner who has always managed the money in your household, and that's okay. Now, when something happens, though, things can get just flipped, turned upside down, and I'll never forget when my aunt passed away, my uncle, her husband, didn't even know how to write a check. And so that's an extreme example that we never want to see. So maybe you're here today because, well, perhaps that's you. You want to educate yourself. And if that's the case, I highly commend you for being here. You know, I heard an interesting statistic. Let me show you here real quick. It said 80% of women leave their advisor when they lose their husband. Think about that just for a moment. Why do you suppose that is? Well, is it because perhaps you don't feel listened to? Maybe if your husband or your partner was the main person taking care of all the finances and you happen to go into one of these meetings with the financial advisor, they just talk to them, not to you. And then when something happens, whether it's sad to say, the passing of a loved one or maybe a divorce or a split, something like that, well, here you are, you haven't been listened to, and within 2 years, according to this statistic, 80% of women leave their current advisor and find another one. Well, I can't blame you. I think one of the most important things, whether we have individuals as clients here at Victory or we have couples, is that both of them share when it comes to our meetings. So we want to know what's important to each and every one of our clients, and that includes you. So I don't know if this is you or not, but does this sound like you? Maybe you're anxious about losing your money in the next market downturn. I mean, my goodness, the market, it's up big, it's down big. It's up big, it's down big. I mean, do you secretly fear outliving your assets, all of your money in retirement? You want to avoid that. Are you concerned that one day you might be a burden to your family? Are you frustrated with all the conflicting Wall Street advice out there? I mean, you can turn on any television station, news, internet, you grab your phone here, whatever the case may be, and you're going over all of that, and it's just one person says buy, the other says sell. Well, who has your best interests at heart? What about this? What about higher taxes? Do you think taxes are going up? Yeah, they're going way up. So is inflation. So how is that going to impact your savings? Do you want a simple plan to provide for you that has clarity, but maybe you just don't know how? So in other words, are you just worried? Worried about all this, worried about running out of money, whether or not you're going to reach your goals, worried that your loved ones won't be taken care of should the worst happen. Well, I want to tell you right now, you don't have to worry. Imagine that you could flip a switch. Think about that. Flip a switch and have a simple plan that brings confidence and clarity so that you can not only retire, but stay retired with dignity. I mean, you'd barely look at the market and turn on the television and worry because you knew that you would have a plan that protects you from all the severe market drops and losses. You'd minimize your risk and your family would always be taken care of. And you'd be sure that you could maintain your independence. I mean, think about that. Travel, be present with your family without worrying about all the ups and downs, the topsy-turvy of the market. You could take control of your retirement and protect yourself from, well, rising healthcare costs. How about taxes, which are just going up, up, up with no end in sight? Now, how about this? What if you could generate increasing income that would last through any market condition? Well, that is precisely what we're going to talk about today, and that is exactly what we do here for our clients at Victory Wealth Services. So my goal with this entire virtual event is to help you alleviate some of your worries and your concerns, to give you a step-by-step plan of action so that you can have the great retirement that you deserve. Okay, so who is James Haight? You've all signed up. You probably saw this ad on Facebook. Maybe you heard it on the radio, and you're all here today because you want to make smart choices about money. That is very commendable. But at the end of the day, who's this guy right on your screen presenting to you today? Well, again, my name is James Haight. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll get right into the meat of the presentation. But I've been married for over 25 years. In fact, this is my lovely wife, Leslie. Our office staff just threw us a few months ago a 25th wedding anniversary party. We had a really great time. And yes, that is me back down in the right-hand corner there. That's I had a little bit more hair back then. Yeah, well, okay, I had a lot more hair, but that's okay. But my wife and I both started out in financial services over 26 years ago. But I would say my passion for finances and financial planning really started way back when I was a kid. Now, what do I mean? Well, let me show you just real quick what I'm talking about. Let me go here. A little technical thing going on here. That's what happens when you're live without a net. Okay, so this right here is my mom. And her name's Alice, and I was 9 years old the first time I ever saw her cry. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, before we get too deep into this and too emotional, but I was 9 years old. By the way, that's my two brothers there. I'm the one in the middle. I'm the reason we had rules growing up, right? The middle child. But John, James, and Justin. I'm, of course, James, right in the middle. And I'll never forget it was a snow day. Well, we're from Montana, and a snow day in Montana might be a lot different than a snow day where you're from. A snow day up in Montana was a minimum of 3 feet. All the schools were closed. All the post office, everything was all closed. Well, we were having a blast just sledding all day, having a great time. Well, when we came in for dinner, my father was not there. And we said, well, where's Dad? Well, he'll be here, don't worry. So we ate dinner. Then Mom said, okay, time for your homework. And we all finished our homework. Still no Dad. And then finally, Mom was tucking us into bed, and there was no Dad. And I don't know about your mom, but by the way, we lived in a 2-bedroom house, and we had bunk beds, and we had a twin bed. So I was on the bottom bunk, and Mom would come in, and she would tuck us in real tight like this, right? Just like a mummy, so that we couldn't move. And we were just kind of stuck there like that. And she did that to all 3 of us. And I'll never forget, she would say a little prayer. She would kiss us on the forehead, and then she'd say, you know, Jamie, my mom would call me Jamie. She's allowed to do that. She goes, you know, Jamie, you're my favorite. And then she would say to my younger brother, Justin, you know, you're my favorite. And do the same thing with my brother, John, and say, you know, you're my favorite. And then when we would leave, we would all argue about who truly was her favorite. So it was our favorite pastime right before bed. Well, anyway, after I fell asleep, I woke up. I don't know how long it had been I was asleep, but I woke up because I heard voices coming from the kitchen. And so I unraveled myself, and I kind of snuck down to the kitchen like this, and I looked around the corner, and I can see in the light, and there was my dad. And my dad was holding my mom as she was crying. That was the first time I ever saw that. And I'll never forget 6 words that my mother said. Are we going to be all right? See, my father had just lost his job. Think about that. I wasn't born with a silver spoon by any stretch of the imagination. Up in Montana, middle of a hardcore winter, jobs are scarce, 3 boys, and Dad loses his job. Have you ever asked yourself, what are we going to do? Are we going to be okay? I think it's fair to say that's part of, the human condition. And I'll never forget, I went back to bed. I snuck back into bed, and I was just so scared. I was like, what are we going to do? I mean, that's a lot to lay on a 9-year-old, right? And I was just praying and praying and praying, say, I've got to come up with an idea. What am I going to do? And by the time I woke up the next morning, it was still dark outside. Of course, it's Montana. It's dark for a very long time. And I woke up, and I'm like, I have an idea. And I realized I am surrounded by money. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about snow. Are you kidding me? There was snow everywhere. So what did I do? I bundled all up. I got my mittens on. You know, the kind where the string goes from one hand all the way up and down to the other hand. Grabbed the shovel, went outside, and I looked down the road to see who had their light on. And I would go and I'd knock on the door, and we were a small little neighborhood. Everybody knew everybody, and they'd go, what's going on? And I'd say, oh, would you like me to shovel your driveway for you? And I did that all week long, shoveling driveways. And at the end of the whole week, I had saved up $23. Now, $23 might not sound like a lot of money, but back then, what could $23 buy you? It could buy you a whole cartload of groceries, couldn't it? Absolutely. So at the end of the week, I kept $3, put it in my pocket. That was for me. And I took all the soggy money and put it together, took it to the store, and I exchanged it for a $20 bill. And I brought it home on Friday, and I told my mom what I had done. And I gave her the $20, says, I want to help the family. And that was the second time I ever saw my mother cry. Well, what did I learn from that whole experience? I learned that, when things are going rough, things are going down, and you can only look up, there's only one way to go, and that is up. And so maybe you're currently in a situation like that. Maybe you've lost a loved one, a spouse, a partner, whatever the case may be. Maybe you're worried that you're not going to be able to take care of yourself. I want to make sure that everybody that we work with never has to have an answer that's, or not know the answer to a question, I guess, of are we going to be okay? Because I want to make sure that you are okay. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I took these lessons that I learned about hard work and integrity, and I applied it to my life. And after I got married and got into the financial services industry, I started rapidly rising in the ranks until I was managing, quite a few financial advisors and investment managers. And I'll never forget, and this is important, I want to spend a little bit of time on this, something that happened to me with a manager. And a manager came in and called all of us in, all the department heads, and said, hey, listen, we've got this brand new product. I want you all to sell to your clients and recommend it. And his name was Kevin. So this is Kevin. Well, it's not actually Kevin. I changed his picture. I'd probably get sued if I actually had a picture of Kevin. But this is Kevin, and this was my aha moment when I realized that I wanted to be different from all the other financial advisors out there. Because he came in and he said, hey, listen, we've got this brand new product. I want you all to sell it. It's great. And so I looked at the prospectus. A prospectus, if it's the size of a phone book, it talks about the fees and expenses and all that stuff. And I'm looking through this thing and I'm like, my goodness, this thing is expensive. And this investment, it's also really risky. And I'm just kind of thumbing through this. And after the meeting, I went up to him. I said, I can't recommend this to clients. I mean, my clients are all at or near retirement, and this is way too expensive, and it's really risky. And he goes, listen, James, you sell what you're told to sell. And if you do, you'll get one of these. And he was pointing to his watch. And he said, do you know what this is? This is a Rolex. It costs $25,000. And I'm like, thinking to myself, so what? It's not worth it to the clients. You know, it's too expensive and it's too risky. Well, here we are 2 weeks later, and they had the leaderboard in the back office there, right by the break room. And here's everybody's name on and the numbers, you know, tracking everybody on who has recommended this and placed these investments with their clients. Guess where my name was? That's right. All the way down on the bottom, it was a big goose egg. It was a 0 for James. Kevin pulls me back into the office and he says, hey, why aren't you recommending these to your client? I said, number one, they're too expensive. And number two, they're way too risky. My clients are at or near retirement. They can't afford to have that kind of risk or pay those kind of fees. And of course, what did Kevin say? Hey, you sell what you're told to sell and you'll get one of these. You know what this is? It's a Rolex. It cost $30,000. Well, every time he told the story, the price went up by about $5,000, I think. But anyway, by the way, you ladies out there, how many of you, just raise your hand, how many of you have a pretty good idea what you'd like Kevin to do with his watch? Well, I think so too. Well, I was thinking the exact same thing, and I would go home and I would talk to my wife and I said, they're trying to make us recommend this. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable and makes me feel sleazy and like a salesperson, and it's not the right thing to do. And she goes, and it was the most brilliant piece of advice I've ever received from anybody, bar none. Are you ready? She said, then quit. Go start your own company. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? I have all the license. I have all the experience. Why not? And so that's what we did. We started our own company. We've been doing this on our own for about 20 years now. And now our clients, they're like family. I mean, we get together. We have a great time. We have all kinds of client events. And we sit down. And because when you do the right thing, you always win in the long run. And so that's what we figured out is, and not only are we fiduciaries by law, we're fiduciaries by principle. And we want to make sure that we're always making recommendations for the benefit of our clients. Clients first. And so that's just a little bit about us. We had an incredible ride over this last 20 years. We've been doing a tremendous, I think, good work helping a lot of people. So let's get right into the Women's Retirement Roadmap. And I think you'll see how the two stories that I just told you will kind of play out through this entire program that you're watching right now and how important it is. So, Women's Retirement Roadmap. Now, before we go any further, if there's something that resonates with you as we're talking, as we're going through this, do me a favor, hit that button that you see on your screen to schedule a 15-minute appointment. So you can either hit that button or you can visit talktovictory.com or give us a call. There's our phone number right there. You can go to talktovictory.com, give us a call, or click that button you see on your screen. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that we set aside 15 minutes for you to talk about what's truly important for you, to see if there's anything that we can do to improve your overall financial well-being. Okay, so let's go into our agenda for today. So the agenda, what we're going to discuss is, number one, how to make your money last. You know, it's the one thing you have to do to gain confidence that your money's going to last through retirement. We're also going to discuss the little-known formula to protect your portfolio without, and this is big, sacrificing growth. Then we'll talk about the biggest threat to your retirement and how it can be minimized or eliminated altogether. And then finally, what we'll do is we'll put it all together with a nice big bow on top. Now, speaking of big bow, if you stick around for the whole entire workshop today, I know some of you might have to jump off, but get a hold of us again. You'll be able to watch, hopefully, a replay if we have that. But jump on, because you're going to receive a free gift. Now, let me preface this. My wife said, she says, you know, if you go showing a box that's that color on there and promising everybody a free gift, they're going to be expecting something from Tiffany's. Am I right? That looks like a Tiffany's box. Don't get too excited. It's nothing from Tiffany's. However, what I am going to give you as a gift when this is all over, in my opinion, is a lot more valuable than something from Tiffany's. So stick around. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, let's go into our first portion of the workshop here, how to make your money last. So I think it goes without saying, and we have a kind of a mantra, if you will, here at work, and that is, there is no retirement without income. I mean, does that make sense? I mean, once we stop working, the paychecks, they stop rolling in, but our bills don't. So what must every retiree do? Or pre-retiree do in order to have success in retirement? Well, it has to do with having a written income plan. Now think about this. A lot of those financial advisors out there, all those other ones, they're really great. You know, everybody's great about building up your retirement assets. But when it comes to retirement and having that spend down, most financial advisors and your brokers out there really don't have a plan. What do they tell you? Well, don't worry, you'll be just fine. Just pull out 4 or 5% a year and you'll just be fine. Well, that's not always the case. You know, I think about it kind of like climbing Mount Everest. In fact, I have a good friend right now who is down climbing Mount Kilimanjaro as we speak right now. But think about climbing Mount Everest. There's a statistic that I heard, and it was fairly interesting to me. It said that the greatest percentages of fatalities that occur while climbing Mount Everest happen on the way down the mountain. Think about that. Here, they've been at base camp, they've climbed, they've acclimated, they've struggled, all these climbers, they're at the top of Mount Everest, they planted the flag, and then it's on the way down, that's when the majority of them die. Why is that? Is it because maybe they're fatigued? Maybe they're overconfident. But whatever the case may be, it is still on the way down. You know, we liken that to our retirement income. Yes, many people have done a great job helping you, or maybe on your own as a do-it-yourselfer, have helped to grow that investment asset. But look at this. We have that pre-retirement. We call that accumulation, where you're building up your money, building up, you're climbing that mountain, but it's on the way down. It's that when you're retired, when the bills are rolling in, but your paychecks aren't. That's the most dangerous part of anyone's retirement. So what do we need to do? Well, it's critical that if we want to have confidence in our retirement, the best place starts with a written income plan. It's critical because most people just simply don't have one. You know, I was thinking about some clients that we have. Let's just call them Bob and Linda. I use Bob and Linda quite a bit because it was an interesting case study for us anyway. Bob was 11 weeks from retirement. Think about that, 11 weeks out from retirement, and they came to one of our workshops that we had, and he brought in all his stuff. And by the way, before he even scheduled the appointment, he said, look, James, I really liked your presentation. It made a lot of sense, but I have a financial advisor that I've been working with for 11 years. So I'm not changing advisors. We're good friends. We golf all the time. And I just want a second pair of eyes because I'm 11 weeks out from retirement. No problem. Come on in. And by the way, bring your statements and bring your written income plan. And so when they came in, they sat down. I'm going through the statements again. He said, hey, look, we're not switching advisors. I just want to get a second pair of eyes and know that we're going to be okay. And so Bob and Linda were both in there. And here we were. We're going through. I said, oh, by the way, do you have the written income plan? Well, what's that? Well, it's a plan that tells you where you're going to be pulling your money, how long it's going to last, things like that. And of course, he did not have one. The advisor, and it's no fault of Bob's, but his advisor of 11 years just simply did not provide that. And so we're going over everything, and you know what? It looked great. I did a whole bunch of work. We figured out, you know what? You're going to be just fine unless we have a market correction, unless one of you has to go into a nursing home. And then you're going to be in trouble. And so Bob and Linda realized that for the 11 years they were working with this advisor, they really didn't have a game plan. They didn't have the confidence or the clarity to have that confidence in order to know that, you know, there would be a high percentage or high probability that they were going to be okay. And really, that's the ugly truth when it comes to retirement planning. Say hello to Gus. This is Gus. He's kind of drooling there. But here's the ugly truth right now is that 76% of baby boomers are not confident that they've saved enough. Interesting fact is that by 2033, Social Security will need to be cut by 23%. I don't know about you, but I don't know many people that can afford a 23% pay cut. Nearly 1/3 of retirees still have mortgage debt. And this is really scary, that a couple will spend an estimated $245,000 on health care throughout retirement. I mean, wow, think about that. And here's the other fact is that 60% of individuals working with an advisor lack an income plan. Of course, that number rises if they're doing it on their own. So what makes for a good income plan? There's a couple of different things that we want to talk about. Well, to begin with, let's go over this. Here's what makes a good income plan. Number one, it's simple and easy to understand. A written retirement income plan is not some 45-page NASA dissertation that only an engineer can understand. I mean, who would read that thing anyway? No, it has to be simple. Just a couple of pages, 3 or 4. And you not only does it have to be easy to understand, it has to inspire you to do whatever it takes in order to reach your goals for the reasons that are important to you. Here's the next thing. It has to show probability of success. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means, well, how do I explain this? Let's take a weatherman, for example. If the weatherman, you turn on the Weather Channel and he says there's going to be a 50% chance of sunshine tomorrow. Well, that's great. That's basically just flipping a coin. And if you take the chance and you go out, hey, 50% chance, this is pretty good. It's a nice day. But what if he's wrong? What if there was, you know, only a 20% chance that there would be sunshine? Which means what? 80% chance that it's going to rain. That's a whole nother story. It's a whole nother story, too, when you're talking about your retirement money. So we want to show the probability of success. So think about that. We want an income plan. We go back to this, that's simple and easy to understand. And that income plan, what it does is it tells you exactly when your retirement paychecks are going to start. It tells you exactly what part of your retirement assets that you're going to, tap into first. And it's going to tell you exactly how those paychecks are going to last. And finally, it'll tell you how they're going to grow over time. So this document should really be 2 to 3 pages that lays all of this out for you in plain language that's easy to understand. So how does this work? What's the practical application of this, if you will? Well, I'd like you to meet June. June's a client of ours. Change the picture. But June is, like I said, a real client, but she was a nurse for 35 years. I think we can all agree that's a high-stress job, especially during the pandemic. I mean, not only is it high stress, that's high risk. So she wasn't sure if she should retire or not. She didn't know if she could afford it. She didn't know whether or not she could take Social Security. or when she should take that. I mean, have you looked at your Social Security statement? Did you know that there's like over 500 ways that you could take Social Security? I mean, it is absolutely crazy. So, let me go back. Boom. So here's, let me go, there we go. Boom. Again, live without a net. This is what happens. So I got a little ahead of myself. So here's what we did. She, again, was worried that she didn't have enough, afraid that the market would crash right before she retired. She had created this spreadsheet, which was really impressive, with all of her income and expenses, but she didn't have confidence. So what we did is we helped put her into an existing plan, or take her existing plan, and we looked at a few different factors, and all we did was input all the data that she had on her spreadsheet, her statements and things like that. We took a look at her expenses, her debt, when she wanted to take Social Security, her pension, everything. And here's what it came back as: 66% chance of a probability that she would never run out of money. Now you might be thinking 66, well, that's better than, 46. Well, that is true, but we want that number as high as we possibly can. I mean, 66 probability of success. I mean, think about a pilot. If you got on an airplane and the pilot said, we have a 66% chance of reaching our destination, I mean, are you going to stay on that airplane? Not very long. I'm getting off that airplane. Why? Because there's a 34% chance that we're not going to get to our destination. So here at Victory Wealth, we want to get that number as high as possible, as close to 100% as possible. I mean, bare minimum, we want to see at least an 85% probability of success. So what this shows is that there is a chance that she would run out of money. Not good. So here's how we helped her. So we showed her some specific things, how we could lower her risk. Basically, we kept her income and expenses all the same, and we showed her how we could just kind of fine-tune, if you will, her existing portfolio. We lowered her risk, increased her income, and we helped her to maximize her Social Security. Finally, we showed her which accounts that she should access first. And let me tell you, that matters big time. So what was the result? Look at this. She went from a 66 to a 90. I mean, that's a huge jump. And again, we did not decrease her lifestyle, because having a written income plan that we provided for June gave her clarity. And it was simple. It was easy to understand. And that clarity brings control. Having control in your life gives you confidence. And having confidence allows you to retire in comfort. So once again, that's what a written income plan does. And for June, when she had this and she left our office with all this information in her hand, guess what she did? That's right. 3 weeks later, she was retired. She had turned in her notice, and she is having a wonderful time. So let's continue with what makes a great income plan. Stress test different scenarios. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, we run various different tests when it comes to your retirement, and you should as well. So what happens, let's say, if you take Social Security early, or if you wait till 67 or 70? What if you go back to work part-time? Well, what happens if a spouse or you need long-term care? What if you retire early? So running all these various scenarios is, through our retirement software and our planning process, it's critical to increasing your probability of success. We want to make sure that no matter what happens in the world, the market, or the economy, that you're going to reach your goals for the reasons that are important to you. So at this time, if any of this resonates with you and you want to meet with us here at Victory, it's super simple. Just click that button to schedule a 15-minute appointment. And in this 15-minute appointment, or you can go to talktovictory.com, we'll be able to sit down with you and hear your story, hear what concerns you, and then we'll be able to make recommendations and see if we should move forward and really help guide you in this incredible, exciting chapter of your life. And when you do that, here's what it looks like. So let me go right here. This 15-minute retirement strategy we can do over the telephone. We can have a Zoom conference if you like, whatever the case is. But it's basically just 15 minutes is all it takes to start to get started in creating the great life that you deserve, or confirming that you're going to be okay. That's all it takes. Okay, so here's how we help. We help create that written retirement income plan. We know that what this basically does is it tells you when your paychecks are going to start, where they're going to come from, how long they're going to last, and how they're going to grow over time. Now, what this means is that after we've created this for you, this analysis, it's complete, it's in writing, this income plan, you have it in your hands, you can officially stop wondering if you'll outlive your money. You can rest in the knowledge that we've mathematically tested your strategy and we've proven it to last as long as you'll need it. In other words, you can get back to looking forward to all those things you wanted to do all of these years. And that is what a written retirement income plan does. Okay, so let's go on to our second part of our agenda. How to protect your money without sacrificing growth. I mean, that's the big secret, right? Everybody wants safety, but everybody also wants growth too. And sometimes you give up part of one for the other. Well, here's how we do that, because it is possible, but it's called crash testing or stress testing your portfolio, which we did for June. So here's what that looks like. So actually think of it this way. We all see this fellow right here. Just like you want your vehicle for your loved ones or for yourself to have been crash tested, to be shown to be safe, every person needs to crash test or stress test their portfolio to ensure that it meets the amount of risk that you're willing to take, whether that risk is in the market or even the risk of future taxes, because again, taxes are going up, up, up. Now, this is exactly what we do for our clients. We run thousands of scenarios to see what would happen if, for example, we had a bear market, or maybe the bond market collapses, or what would happen if we had another 2008 or a 9/11. We do this so that there are no surprises when it comes to your retirement money. So after we've completed this, there's probably the best rule in investing. In fact, there's 3 principles that really ground us to this, or that we're guided by. And let me show you what those are. Retirement principles. The first one is average rates of return are misleading. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when you look at your statement, it says, oh, wow, I've made 12, 15, 20% on average. That is misleading, and I'm going to show you how. Second, consistency of returns matters. It's as important, if not more important, than average rates of return. And finally, you must know your risk, AKA also known as, now say it with me, I'm going to use some jargon. Are you ready? Say it with me. Standard deviation. I'm going to show you exactly what that is. It's super simple, standard deviation. So know your risk. So who knows who this is? Well, that's right, it's Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett, one of the best investors, or most famous investors anyway, arguably one of the most successful for sure, has 2 rules to invest in. You probably know them, but just in case, his rules of investing: number 1, never lose money. And what's number 2? Never forget rule number 1. Now, why does he say that? Well, because when it comes to your money and your investments, losses hurt more than gains help. And it takes a lot to recover from a significant loss. Buffett always understood that if you want to make money, you start by not losing what you already have. Now, our clients don't take too much risk, yet with our planning, they don't sacrifice growth. So let's see exactly how that works. Let's say for a moment that you had $1 million in the market. And that could be in your IRA, 401k, combination of everything, whatever it is, you have $1 million. But the market drops 50%. Ooh, 50% in 1 year. Well, what do you have left? You have $500,000. And people say, well, if I had a 50% loss, obviously I need a 50% gain and I'll be back right to where I started. Well, unfortunately, that's not how the math actually works out. And this is one of the most commonly misunderstood things about the market. So let's take that $500,000 and let's say the market goes back up 50%. Well, it's only going up 50% of $500,000. I mean, we're still $250,000 or 25% short. I mean, look at that. We haven't, broken even. So what do we have to do? In order to recover from a 50% loss in the market, we need a gain of 100%. And you want your portfolio to squeeze out at least as much as you can without risking all of your money, so you can get as much gain as you can. So this is why Warren Buffett feels so strongly about avoiding losses, because again, losses hurt more than gains help. If you lose 50% of your portfolio, I mean, how likely is it that the market will rebound 100% in a short period of time? I mean, the moon has to be in line with Pluto, right? So how likely is this to happen? Particularly when we anticipate continued volatility for the foreseeable future. So let's talk about that volatility that we've been seeing. The market goes up big, it goes down big, up big, down big. Again, we call that standard deviation. So here's an example of the volatility highway or standard deviation. On the left part in the red, you have the market can go up 40%, which means it goes up big, or it could go down 40%, meaning it goes down big. And then over on the right-hand side, we have the market can go up 25% or down as low as 6%. So you would think, well, if I'm going to roll the dice, I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to make as much money as I can, right? And so here we have, we're going to put all of our money at higher risk. But the reality is we want a standard deviation. That is, we don't want our investments to deviate much more than that 6% from our targeted goal. So we call this standard deviation. So here's an example. The market goes up big, down big, up big, down big. And when it comes to what we do is we want to flatten that curve, that sine wave. We want to flatten it so that we're staying within that plus 25 to negative 6. That way, again, we don't have the losses that people experience when the market is just going crazy. So let's see how this works in a real life or a practical type of situation. Who knows who these fellows are, right? Hans and Franz. I want to pump you up. Remember those guys from Saturday Night Live way back when? Well, let's take a look at their portfolios and let's give them each $1 million. So let's go over Hans first. So here Hans has $1 million. And I promise there's only 2 charts like this, so stay with me. So here $1 million, and Hans has been pulling out $50,000 a year. But look at those returns. I mean, they're wild, wild swings right there. I mean, you have, let me go here. There you go. You have the market's down 13, down 20, it's up 5, down 7, up 20, up 25. So it's all over the place. But at the end of the day, his rate of return is what? It's about 8%. But the standard deviation, that wild fluctuation, is at a 23. 23 is pretty high. Like I said, we like to keep it around 6. Well, how did his brother do? Take a look at this. Again, he's $1 million. Franz has been pulling out 50 grand a year because you have to have income. There's no retirement without income. But he's been, small little gains here, if you want to call it that, 6%, 8%, there's an 11. But he's not having those huge, huge losses that his brother was experiencing. So here we have an average rate of return of 6%, standard deviation 5. But you say, well, his brother made 8%. Well, let's do the math, shall we? Here we have Hans, 8% rate of return, Franz, 6%. The standard deviation, that's the big difference, 23% versus 5. So at the end of that 10-year period, Hans is left, and remember, they're both pulling out 50 grand a year, $908,000. That's pretty respectable, right? But his brother Franz still has $1.2 million. See, It's not just average rates of return that are important. What is the lesson here? It's consistency of returns is key. We have to have consistency of the returns. And that's what it's all about. So, I mean, average rates of return are important, but so is consistency. So, how can we help? Well, we can help with a secure portfolio test. A secure portfolio test really will help determine what the maximum loss that you'll be able to take is. It's going to measure your risk, and it's going to expose any possible threats you might have for your retirement, for your portfolio. I mean, wouldn't you like to know where you're sitting right now? It is absolutely imperative that you know what your number is. And so here's what we can do. We can do that 15-minute retirement strategy session over Zoom or over a telephone call and really just kind of hear your story, figure out what it is that we can do to help put you in a better overall position. Now, how do you get on and schedule that? Well, you can jump right onto our calendar at talktovictory.com or click the button you see on your screen to reserve your seat. Or, hey, give us a call at 928-778-1050. All right, so let's go back and talk now on our third segment, how to avoid the biggest threat to your retirement. Now, what is the biggest threat to your retirement savings? Is it your children moving back in with you? Well, maybe. That seems to have a huge drain, right? So, no, here's what it is. Let's go, boom. The IRS. It is the Internal Revenue Service. I mean, taxes are going up, up, up with no end in sight. I mean, think about all the government spending, and we're not going to get into politics on this program, on this virtual event. To us, it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, vegetarian, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we have to work around what the laws are. But let's really talk about how we can be guided by a couple different principles, some common sense reasoning when it comes to paying taxes. I think the biggest and foremost is what's cheaper to pay taxes on? Is it the seed or the harvest? The seed or the harvest? Let's think about a farmer. Well, the seed comes in a bag, right? The harvest comes in a bushel. So if you're going to pay on something and you have to pay taxes on it, you want to pay when it is the smallest. That's right. However, the largest, probably the biggest taxable thing that we have is our retirement plans. Your IRA, your 401k, your TSP, your 403b, whatever the case may be, or if it's inherited from a spouse or a parent or whomever. Those taxes are astronomical, especially over time. So the key, the ticket, is to pay the taxes in a manner that is smart. And so we want to definitely do that when it's lower. So we think about that seed and we think about the harvest. So when we look at our financial statements, in fact, let's take a look at a statement right here. This is a sample of a real statement. We got rid of the account number and we changed the name. So here we have, this person has $384,000 in their IRA. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, if you're looking at your statement, man, I feel great. I have $384,000, or I have $1 million in my 401k. The reality is we don't have that much money. Why is that? Because we have to still pay taxes. That's right, taxes. So after we pay the taxes, we have $282 because $95,000 went to pay Uncle Sam. That's right, the IRS. So what are we supposed to do about it? I mean, with all the government spending, like I said, taxes are going up, up, up with no end in sight. Well, there's a little, not little known, but many people don't know about the fact that right now taxes are on sale. What do I mean? Again, we're not getting into politics, but because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was put into place by President Trump back in 2017, 65% of Americans got a break when it comes to their taxes. Of course, that changed with deductions and all kinds of stuff, but right now taxes are on sale. So what many people are doing right now is they're converting in a systematic way. They're converting their taxed forever accounts like their IRAs and 401ks and TSPs to taxed never accounts. Now, how do you do that? Well, you have to be careful because you want to do it in a very systematic, logical way and to keep your taxes down over time. We run a report, and when we run that report, it'll tell us exactly how to do that. So here's really how we can help. It's a tax-free retirement roadmap. And when we create this roadmap for you, we'll take your taxes from the last year and we look at your income for this year and we put it all together. And this report will tell us exactly the best way to reduce your taxes over time. And I'm telling you, we've seen it save hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime in taxes, because that is going to be the biggest, most expensive bill that you have is your taxes. There's many different ways of converting. You've heard of Roth conversions and things like this, but we can come up with a systematic plan that works for you. So again, how do you do that? Well, simply click on this button we have to reserve that 15-minute appointment and make sure that you get in and see us, and we can create that for you. Again, it's so worth it, just 15 minutes to go over your situation, and if it makes sense, we can move forward from there. Okay, now let's put it all together. I think, what have we talked about so far? You know, we'll recap. Again, there is no retirement without income. Our bills come on a regular basis, and we want to make sure that no matter what happens, that you always have that paycheck, no matter what. The highest returns don't always win, right? Just like Hans and Franz. We want to make sure that we are sticking with our comfortable standard deviation. We want, what is it? Consistency. Consistency is the key, isn't it? And taxes are the biggest threat to your retirement. So here's how we can help. Our proprietary process is called the Victory Plan here at Victory Wealth Services. Clever name, right? Well, it's not just a clever name. It is an incredible process. And this is what we do. We put this all together for our clients so that no matter, again, what happens in the world, the market, or the economy, they know that they're going to be okay. Now, let me give you an example of how we did this. I remember it was a few years back. We had somebody call us. They were referred by a neighbor, and the gal called up and said, "Hey, would you please come to our house? My husband can't come in because he's not well." And so I went over there, and it turned out he had pancreatic cancer. He was in hospice right there at the house. And the reason I have this jet up here is this is the SR-71 Blackbird. This gentleman happened to be a test pilot for the SR-71 Blackbird. And I'll never forget, he was an incredible guy. I only know him for a short period of time before he passed, but they had investments all over the place, you know, 401k, IRA, portfolio, real estate, boom, 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 just everywhere, just scattered all about. And he was worried to death that she wasn't going to be okay, even though they had plenty of assets. And so I agreed to work with him, and we fast-tracked it because we knew he basically had less than 4 months to live. And so we put it all together. We created the Victory Plan, and we fine-tuned their assets. We're financial organizers. We got their entire financial house in perfect order so that they knew that they could keep it that way forever. And I'll never forget, the last time I spoke to him, sorry, I get a little choked up on this, but the last time I spoke to him, he calls me up and said, "Hey, come over. We got fresh baked cookies and coffee." I'm like, "You don't have to tell me twice." So I zoomed over. It was just right down the road from our office back then. And he was sitting at the kitchen table, which I had never seen him sitting up before. He was always laying down in that little electric lift chair that helps you kind of, you know, stand up. And he was sitting at the kitchen table having coffee. And we sat and we talked for probably 45 minutes, having coffee and enjoying stories and stuff of when he was the pilot. And I'll never forget, he when I went up to leave, he stood up, real shaky and very, very thin and frail. This once strong, incredible virile man who was a test pilot. He used to call me Ace, me, and he was the one that was a test pilot. I thought that was just incredible. But he reached across the table and he shook my hand. And you know when somebody doesn't let go of your hand for a very long, kind of awkward period of time? Well, that's what he was doing, and he was looking me right in the eye. Sorry. And he goes, young man, I trust you. And I was just like, blown away. I was like, wow, I've really made an impact. This is what I want to do for my clients. And then I looked over to her and I realized I'm taking care of her for the rest of her life. And that's what we do. And that's what we've been doing. And so here at Victory Wealth, that's why it's so important that we help you to have, well, let's go back to it, the 4 C's. We want you to have clarity. When you have clarity where we benchmark where you're at now, we can build that plan out just like we did for them so that they know that no matter what happens, they're going to be okay. That gives a feeling of control. When you feel in control, that gives you that confidence. Confidence to face the world, to go out and actually enjoy your life in your retirement, to have that comfort in retirement. We want you to be comfortable. So the 4 C's, the clarity, the control, the comfort, it's so, so important. So that's what we do here for each and every one of you when you come in and work with us at Victory Wealth. Now, that pretty much wraps up what we're going to talk about today, but don't forget, I was already offered you what? The free gift. So what are the free gifts that, in my opinion, are worth more than a box from Tiffany's? Okay, here we go. So let me go here. First of all, we've done this so much that we've created these PDFs for you to download, and they are financial checklists, number 1 for the recently widowed, and number 2 for the recently divorced. These financial checklists, they're 2 pages long. If you have a life event like this, I want to make sure that you get this. Also, I have this incredible free book for you. It's Smart Women Finish Rich by David Bach. David Bach is nationally, actually worldwide known financial advisor, and we have based our entire practice off the methodology found in his books. They're so impactful. They can have a positive impact for you as well. So when you schedule that appointment, you get signed up with us here at Victory Wealth and come in and see us. Even if you don't come in and see us, just give us a call here and we'll mail out that book for you. It's an easy read. There's some exercises in there, and it just has an incredible impact for everybody that takes advantage of that. Or you can save all kinds of time, schedule that 15-minute appointment, and we'll go over some of the more powerful exercises in that and really listen to what it is that's going on in your world to see if we can help you. So, of course, we have those gifts. We have number 1, you can get your free, at no charge, Victory Plan. Has the written income plan, the secure portfolio test, the tax-free retirement roadmap, the financial checklist, and the Smart Women Finish Rich book. I mean, does it get better than that? I know you're thinking I'm going to say next, but wait, there's more. But I think that's pretty valuable right there. The information that you gain from a Victory Plan, from this book, and the checklist, again, I think are far more valuable than anything you could possibly get in a little green box. That's for sure. So let's go back to that little 9-year-old shoveling snow, helping the family out. That $20, that bottle, would buy a whole cartload of groceries, as opposed today where you maybe get 2 or 3 Starbucks if you're lucky. But I'll never forget, it was on my wedding night. After the wedding, after the reception, we were getting ready to leave. My wife and I and my mother came up to me, and she reminded me of that time when I went and shoveled snow to help out the family when Dad had lost his job. Well, I didn't know that, what the financial situation was, but they were savers and they had some money and they were okay. And my mom reminded me of that. And she said, you have no idea how much that meant to your father and I, and especially to me, that you helped out the family. And I kind of knew. The neighbors called and said, hey, Jamie was over here shoveling the driveway, and I kept an eye on you. I made sure you were safe. And but she goes, you know, the one thing I can never do, I could never spend that money. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And she goes, I want you to have this so that you never forget that you can make a positive impact, and that what the impact is when you help people. And she pulled this out. And let me see if we can see that there. She gave me this $20 bill, the $20 bill that I had given her. I have it in a protective plastic sleeve here because this is my most treasured and valuable possession that I have. So I want you to know that whatever you're going through right now, it's going to be okay. You know, sometimes we have a tendency to drive through life with just the dims on, where we need to turn on the brights so we can see further down the road. And when we see further down the road, we can see that, you know, there's light, there's hope. And so if there's anything we can do to help you, I mean, after all, our what do you want to call it? Our motto, our mantra here at Victory Wealth Services is, well, it's all about you. And when you come in, I think, and starting with the 15-minute appointment that we have over the phone or over Zoom, I think, again, you're going to see that. You're going to experience that for yourself. And that's my hope for each and every one of you ladies out there. I would say over 65% of the clients that we serve are women, whether they're divorced, widowed, single, whatever the case may be. And we are just completely honored by that. My goal for each and every one of you is that you can have the great retirement that you deserve. I mean, you've worked so hard for it. You deserve it. We want you to spend time with your grandkids and your family. I want you to be able to spend time with your friends, doing things that inspire you to help others as well, and to have the great times that you deserve. Because really, retirement, that's what it's all about. It's all about having that the freedom of time to do the things that you're passionate about, to do the things that make us better people. And that's my hope for you. Here at Victory Wealth Services, your victory is our mission. So thank you very much for joining us. Remember, don't forget to do what now? Sign up for that free 15-minute appointment, and then we'll make sure that each and every one of you get the time that you deserve right here at Victory Wealth Services. So thank you. If you have any questions, just hit us up here at Victory Wealth. And I don't know, I kind of like, we were, what was that? We were dancing when I first started here. Maybe you can all dance it out with me as we say goodbye here. But again, I'm James Haight. Thanks so much for being here, and we will see you soon. All right, here we go.